We are in the motherfucking building celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month for the, what is it, the 5th stream? I can't even keep track anymore. And we have to keep the liveliness and the fucking celebrations going with two of the most amazing podcasters and content creators I know. I am so proud to introduce to y'all Chica Chats in the motherfucking building. We got Rocio, we got Kendi. Please make some noise for these two amazing human beings that we are about to have on. 1 second, y'all. Let's go. Hey, what's going on? Can y'all hear me? Oh, what's going on? I hope y'all hear the air horns and all the shit that I'm playing, because if not, it just sounds really fucking weird. How are y'all? I was just saying, so I don't know if you guys have heard of hate raids and the follow bots and shit that have been happening on Twitch. Oh, it's bad. It's so bad. And I knew this one streamer who said she got hate raided, and they just went in there and they like targeted her because of the LGBT tag and fucking just went off. Oh wait, hold on. Sundara says can't hear you. Oh, okay, wait. How about now? Speak, Rocio.
Hello.
Hey, all right. I think now they should be able to hear you.
Hi guys.
So yeah, as I was saying, Sundara-chan says. So Sundara-chan is Angie, by the way, if y'all didn't know. That's Angie in the chat right there. Hello, Sundara-chan. Thank you for joining us. I feel like we were just here at our apartment when we were last doing our live podcast episode. So this is great to have y'all back on here digitally. I'm sorry that I came in here with so much aggressive energy because of these fucking bots. It is good to see y'all, and it's good to chat. How y'all been?
You've been good?
Yeah, it's been great.
Hey. Well, I'm very happy to have both of y'all on. Can you give us some introductions, please, to those that don't know you?
Cool. I'm Ro. I'm one half of Chica Chats.
And I'm Kendi, the other half of Chica Chats, and we have a podcast on Latinx taboo topics that we discuss.
Hey, what y'all talk about there? What kind of topics can people expect to hear and they tune into Chica Chats?
You know what? It's a little bit of everything. Something spicy. It could be anything from sex to politics to like hot topics to even like exactly what you're talking about. People on different platforms, if they're not being acknowledged, we could highlight some different issues as well, especially in the Latinx community.
A lot of personal things.
Oh, it's been getting real personal lately, and we have to talk about it. You guys have found some amazing success recently with TikTok, and it's fucking awesome to see.
Oh, thank you. We have. It's crazy.
So wild. So please talk about like all that, because I imagine it caught you a little off guard. Like one of these videos just went up to 290,000 views, 30,000. Like this is pretty. 44,000. I'm looking at the screen right now. This is amazing.
It is. It's crazy. We obviously didn't think it would happen. So when the numbers started like racking up and the views too, and then the comments, we were like, what's going on?
Yeah, it was weird to see the notifications like out of nowhere, like, and especially the comments. When you started seeing the comments, you're like, oh, what's happening?
What were the topics? What, like, for those few videos that really blew up, like this 290,000 one that I see, like, what were y'all talking about? I see you talking in here, Kendi, getting real vulnerable. Like, what was the discussion about?
So we went into the topic of people pleasing and what does that mean? Where does it come from, and why it's such a topic I feel people don't really talk about. So we kind of dug deep a little in that episode.
What is people pleasing?
It's whenever you do something out of obligation instead of actual desire for like assisting. Most instances could be anything from like someone asking you a favor. If it's coming from a place of you having to do it so they could please them instead of pleasing yourself, it's those instances in life.
And so that sounds tricky, because I feel like we're always taught like put others before yourself and like take care of others and whatnot, and so like that's tricky because I feel like we've been taught to be like that.
Exactly. I think that's why people don't really talk about it a lot, because it's something like light that people might say, or like you said, like we're taught to be nice and, you know, kind to others, but it's also a form of like trauma response when it does get into a more serious side. And that's when you like, yeah, you're kind and you do things for others, but then you leave yourself out of that equation.
Exactly. And if you think about it in the context of the Latinx community, we're taught to always be obedient or understanding of our elders and always be of service. If you think about it from the female aspect, being of service to our partners in that way. But how does that get construed into an unhealthy habit?
Mm-hmm. How do you talk about these topics to like an older generation? Because I could hear it already. My grandma just being like, what do you mean? Like, you're supposed to be respectful to your elders. Like, that's a good thing. That means you got good manners. Es que te criaron bien, she would say. So like, to be like, you know, this could end up being like bad if it goes to extremes. Like, how do you talk about these topics with like older Latinx family members who might be a little bit more reserved and just like stuck in their ways?
Mm-hmm.
I think when we get more into the personal side and we use our experiences, so we'll be like, if we're talking to an abuelita, we could be like, oh, do you see how when you were small and you were the oldest, you had to take care of your kids, and you have to take care of your siblings and they weren't your kids, and you have to be a service to your family members, to your dad, and just make it more like relatable. Like, oh, look how in your own history, in your own life, how you have been conditioned to do these things.
Yeah, I think Ken brings up a great point. I think a lot of the elders in our lives, if they contextualize those experiences, they've had experiences where they've done things that they've been uncomfortable to do out of service. And if you relate it to like even a different generation now, it's very similar to what they've taught us. So like they have these aha moments where they're like, oh wait, did I just do that? And why am I putting that on you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's just like talking to them from like a perspective where they could relate to it, kind of. And maybe they never thought about it in the certain vocabulary that we speak in today, but they've thought of the ideas of like, all right, yeah, you know, I shouldn't be just doing this to please my fucking husband who's a fucking asshole and expects this of me just because he thinks that all women are supposed to do this.
True.
Exactly.
And then going back to the TikTok stuff, what do you think is it that's like working about the content? Because it's really amazing to see. I feel like Chica Chats has gone through a bit of a rebranding where I love it now. It's way more personal. It's way more about both of y'all. I used to like look at the page, and I think before what you would do is you were spotlighting a lot of other content creators, which is an amazing thing, but it's still like if somebody went to the page now, they learn more about you two as opposed to like the other content creators that you were highlighting before. What was it that you changed? What kind of re-strategizing did you do when it came to the changes to the podcast and the content?
I think we went, like you said, like a rebirth in a sense. COVID really made us think things differently. We've had different points in our podcasting career together where we had to like pick up the pieces and reconstruct something again. When it comes to social media, things are ever changing, and how we wanted to share ourselves is ever changing. And I think we got into a space where we could really like share parts of ourselves in a safe space. And now we have a community where we feel comfortable enough to do that. So now we are able to highlight still, but in our own way, and kind of gone through the journey of like discovery and figured out what works for us.
Anything else to say, Kendi?
We also like definitely listen to all the feedback, because people have been saying like, you guys are like, I like listening to your stories or what you guys have to say. So basically like taking that in and being like, you know what, we do spill a lot about ourselves in the episodes, so might as well also highlight that and be like, hey, we talk about all these things, but it's because we go through it. We're the ones who experience them or have seen people experience them.
And does it ever make you nervous now, like being more vulnerable and like the fact that like people are kind of expecting more of this content? They want you to be vulnerable, and you know, that means having to be vulnerable and putting out stories that before you might not have thought about putting out, but now like, do you feel like a sense of like, yeah, we should be a little bit more personal, we should share more of our stories?
I think it's ever changing. I think now every topic at some point connects to us and our experience or someone around us. It's always going to be personal. I think now it's just a matter of being selective, because we are talking about our personal relationships, our families, our employees, and we kind of have to be smart about how we articulate ourselves. We're still going to be like raw and funny and articulate. It's just a matter of doing it so it doesn't do a disservice in our own lives when we go back home and we have to talk to our coworkers and our friends and our family.
What about you, Kendi? What do you think?
Yeah, that's totally true. Like now that seeing like more and more people are listening to it, I'm like, maybe I should be more careful about everything. But the funny part is that we've been doing Chica Chats basically for like almost 3 years now. So we have put a lot out there already. So now it's just like, how do we know like the line, how much we can be vulnerable and share stuff, but also keep some of it private.
Mm-hmm. And is there anything that you like feel like, all right, I'm not ready to share this yet, but maybe I'll be sharing it down the road? Like, is there things that to yourself you say this is off topic, like off limits? I'm not talking about this. Or is it kind of just every week you go in with whatever you feel like you were experiencing that week?
Kind of a little bit of both. We don't want to get into too much trouble, but at the same time, we want to be as honest with the time period that we're going through in our lives and what's happening around us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's usually how we pick our topics. We're like, okay, what are we feeling now? And how does that connect to like the larger world and bigger topics and stuff like that? But there are some topics that we're like, maybe we're in a better place, or if we really want to dig into this topic, then maybe we'll put it out there. But some topics are just very serious, and I don't know. We'll see.
And what do you feel clicked about TikTok, like in the algorithm? Like what happened that it just started pushing you out there? What was it?
I think it's a mixture of being the month for highlighting Latinx creators. I think it's the fact that we try something different. I think it's the fact that Kendi has been like really like consciously being smart about what we're posting, and a mixture of the topic as well. It happens to be a topic that a lot of people related to, and people are coming out of COVID and wanting for more meaningful content, and it happens to be highlighted.
Yeah.
What do you think, Kendi? So what is it about the post that you've been kind of like making now? Is there like a certain thing that appeals more to TikTok than it does to other platforms?
I think sincerity, because TikTok is very much of like just people in their room creating content, right? And so I felt like when we recorded that episode and we were recording that moment, I myself felt like it was a very sincere moment as I was saying it. So when I was editing it out to post on TikTok, I was like, you know what, usually I would look for like more like spicy material or something more funny to like get those clicks or whatever. But this time I was just like, you know what, this is a genuine moment. This is basically what the whole episode is about. So let's just put it out there. And people were like, hey, I feel that way too. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know this was a thing people felt.
Now that you're making, like, when you go back to like editing clips for social media, do you now try and replicate that, or like, because that also gets tricky where you're like, all right, wow, this really worked, I kind of want to do this again and let's see if it'll work again, and then when it doesn't work, you're just like, shit, you feel bad because you're like, what the hell, like it worked the first time, why didn't it work this time? Like, how do you prevent yourself from like trying to directly replicate the success and also still try and find like, but also like there's a balance, because people obviously like that type of content that you're making, but you also don't want to, overdo it and try and recreate that same success and then get upset when it doesn't, replicate the same metrics.
I think it's a balance of maintaining what the audience is looking towards, and I think what they're really vibing is the fact that they're relating to us as friends and as people that are sharing a common experience. And I think as long as we stay true to sharing that common experience, we're not really thinking about like too many. I've caught myself, we'll have chats, we'll be like, oh, we gotta step away from that. We're not really looking at like, let's get so many hits. Let's really think about like what's gonna look consistent, what's gonna get like the most connection with the audience, and how is that gonna correlate in the long run.
Yeah, I feel like we're currently going through that. We're like, because it is just like the recent hit, like that TikTok clip. So now we are trying to find that balance of like, how do we replicate, but not really, but it's weird.
Or even when you go to like decide, all right, what are we going to discuss this week? Like, you don't want to end up speaking about the same topics that you always speak about, even if you've noticed that those topics really resonate with people. You always want to keep it fresh. So like, how do you find that balance of like, all right, what should we do this week? Or do you just talk about, like, how do you pick your topics basically?
you want to go? Do you want to
I think we've gotten better at doing that. Before we used to be like, here are all the strong topics that we want to talk about. But now we're like, okay, we need an episode where we talk and say what we have to say and make, put a meaningful message out there. And then our next episode, something lighthearted, something fun, because we know that a lot of like serious topics gets a little bit boring, gets a little bit sad. And in the episode itself, we're like, okay, let's talk about trauma, but also, LOL, we have, I don't know, there's obsession with feet or something.
Yeah, I think we also try to replicate similar feelings that we have organically in the conversations we have with each other, so that people can have that same experience through like the headphones. And how does that relate? And the way that we talk to each other as we're creating these episodes, exactly how we're talking. Sometimes we ask questions in the moment as we're recording that we didn't expect to ask organically, that would lead us into those precious moments that we didn't expect.
That's amazing. Sundari-chan says in the chat, in a way, being vulnerable gets you to also find people who can relate to you and I feel like being vulnerable is not always something bad, but instead a way people who can feel safe with you guys. Instead, it's where people can a way people can find a way to be safe with you guys. And I think that's true. Like, I feel like people do respond way better to sincerity, as opposed to like, it's always good to talk about current topics and current events and like things that are currently in the news cycle. But when you're sincere and you speak about topics that are everlasting, like what you guys are doing, there's something more to it. Like, the news cycle always changes. So people, you could discuss one week, like, I don't know, like, I guess the Free Britney stuff. That is an ongoing thing, so it's a little bit of a bad example. But things move out of the news cycle very quickly. But what you're doing is speaking about things that at any point, any moment, somebody could like put on a podcast, listen to that episode, and it's evergreen. It's not timed. There's nothing in there that they'll be like, oh, they're talking about a topic that is like I'm too late for. And so are you still sticking to podcasts? I know there was a time where you were doing polls, trying to figure out like different platforms. Are you sticking to podcasts, or what's the deal?
I think we're dabbling to different things. As we're growing, we're learning what works for us, what doesn't. And I think in whatever we do, whatever platform we choose to grow, we really want to do it with intention. And in order to do that, execution is key. And Ken and her background, we're definitely like, execution is everything. So if we do YouTube or we do another platform, definitely watch out, because it's going to be amazing, because we're going to try to execute it to the best of our ability.
Yeah.
That's what's... Oh, my bad. Go, Kendi.
But yeah, we've stuck to podcasting this long just because it is like such a indie-like environment. So like Rocio said, we do everything, and you do have that like freedom to basically say anything you want without, different influences. But yeah, we're definitely like seeing like how can we grow this a bit bigger and bigger.
Do you feel like the content has gotten any less political since like all the Trump shit? Still talking politics? I feel like my content got way less political. I got burnt out on politics for real. Like, it was just a lot every day, having to like keep up with the news, like then having to do history background checks. Like, did so-and-so really do this for this bill? Like, did they vote for it? It was just a lot. And then like getting into arguments with people who disagreed with you. I got so burnt out on politics. And I think what really happened was I was doing the podcast stuff and I was doing politics and stuff, and I was also like just getting into Twitch. So Twitch was my escape from politics at the time, where I was like, oh, I don't have to do like any research for this. I could just throw games on and I could just fucking sit there and play games. And like, I found a community of people that weren't really speaking about politics, and I was like, oh, I'm finding that I'm having more fun doing this than I am like the podcast stuff and the politics stuff. And I slowly like, I still keep up with it. I still watch a lot of great political YouTubers and stuff, but just myself, like, I got so burnt out on it.
Interesting. I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm speaking for myself, but I feel like the female experience is a political experience, period. Like, we just had the whole thing with the abortions, so we can't really run away from those topics. It's just what it is. You're either imposing on our uterus, or you're imposing on some type of right that we have. so I think they somehow trickle in a different way, and I think the way that we tackle it is more from our perspective, how it impacts us and the women around us. But I totally agree with you, it could be draining sometimes to do, again, I think that's what Ken referred to, like doing from a lighthearted to like a serious topic and rotating it so we don't get into that burnout phase.
Yeah, for sure. When all the Trump stuff was happening, you could definitely go back to our episodes, and it was like very much filled with, oh my God, what is going on in the world? How do we collect? How do we, come together? But like Rocio said, definitely Chica Chats at its core is something politically involved, because we are always talking about how society norms are not good, how we need all our rights, and it's just in the core of Chica Chats. But we do try, I think subconsciously actually, we did veer off a little bit of that, because that burnout is definitely a thing. And in my like job, it's very much having to do with like human rights and nonprofit stuff and stuff like that. So I was like, I'm gonna go crazy if I don't think about something else.
Yeah, doing it for work and then going home and doing it also for like your side hustle is so tough. You just get sick of it. You're like, and that's what happened to me. I was just like, I didn't do it for my job, but I was doing it so much with the podcast that I was like more and more towards my escapism, which right now is video games. But now I've found a way to bring the podcast back to Twitch, which is what I'm really hyped about. I was like trying to figure out a way to intertwine both of them. And I'm glad I'm having amazing content creators such as yourselves. One of the topics that y'all spoke about recently, which I loved, I was just listening to the episode, was the one about toxicas. And I feel like y'all were able to take so many of the thoughts that I've had in my head for so long and just articulate them well, because I see plenty of memes where they're like bragging about like, oh yeah, like I'm the stalker ex-girlfriend who like sits out there and slashes tires and shit, and this is so me, and people resharing it like, yeah, this is me, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Why? Like, nobody should be toxic, men, not women, like nobody. And I felt like that episode really was able to like speak about a lot of the things that I had been thinking about but was not able to articulate.
I'm glad.
Yay, that was my main goal.
Can you speak a little bit about what went into that episode for those that haven't heard it?
So we Ken and I had a late night phone call. She was watching a reality TV show on Netflix, and a lot of the characters, quote unquote characters, people in the show were women, and they were displaying toxic tendencies in their relationships with the men in the show. And Ken and I were like literally bitching about it, like, this is so sad, like this is messed up, like you should not be seeing this on television, this is not healthy. And then that Ken stumbled into something else, and then we're like, how does that relate to Latinx culture? Like, you think about like what we see in novelas and TV shows and things like that, and we're also always meant to be protagonists as spicy or loud or like vindictive or in some way, shape, or form. And how does that trickle into our personal lives and what we're allowing to accept in our relationships and how we're molding that?
Yeah, and for a lot of our episodes, we are very like pro women, pro LGBTQ plus and stuff like that, but we're like, even though we do shit on men a lot of the time.
Specifically you, Kendi. I see you, Kendi. I see you hating men a lot.
That's why I had to propose it. I was like, let me not be a man hater this one
time. It's good though, because I felt like a lot of the topics that y'all speak about, even though they're maybe more targeted towards LGBT and women, I feel like men could associate and can relate and be allies to a lot of the topics that y'all speak about, not just the toxicas one, but specifically that one was really great because I don't know, it just like, I really do sometimes see like a society that embraces like just being toxic, like fucking being the toxic ex-girlfriends, being petty as fuck, like, and I don't like it because I don't think that humans should be like that.
Especially for women. I feel like for men, when you are toxic, like society and stuff, it's just like, oh no, bad, men should not be toxic. But when it's like the other way around and it's women, we're like, oh, it's just like she just really likes him, and it's like, no one, like you said, no one should be like that.
Yeah, and I feel like as women sometimes we get away with a lot because we are nurturing. We're portrayed in society as being nurturing or coveted as being the caregivers, but what we don't realize is sometimes our egos or dispositions could get the best out of us. And what does that work in our dynamics in our lives with our relationships?
Straight up. And how are y'all doing? Are y'all relationships all well? Everything going well? It's been a while since we've spoken. How's everything going in y'all personal love lives?
It's going.
It's going.
It's going? That's good. That's good.
That's our recurring theme in most of the episodes too. We're like, how's it going now?
Everything is going well,
if
though.
We had a stable
What'd you say?
relationship. I think it would be boring if we were always like in a stable relationship. We'd be like, oh my god, we're just happy.
Oh, for sure. But I'm glad that you're both doing well, and like, because even when you get into a relationship, there's still so much learning how to coexist with the other person, and like that's really where it starts. Like the dating aspect is a fucking game in of itself. Like just like you could have so many discussions just about like the dating scenes, and you see so many podcasts like that talking about like the dating scene. But like once you get into the relationship, that's really where it starts being like, you know, getting to know another human being and like learning to coexist with them.
Okay, speaking of which, you're the married one out of the three of us. Any tips for us?
Tips. So we just passed our 3rd year anniversary. That's the real deal. Sundari Challenge right there. We just passed 3 years, which is crazy. Time flies so fast. But honestly, like y'all have seen us. We have a good relationship that we've been able to build over time. That definitely was not the start. That was not how it was at the beginning. We had a little bit of a different scenario where we got married very quickly and moved in very quickly, and like we had a what is the opposite of a honeymoon phase? Like the phase where like all problems at once, like cultural differences we had, but it was really just like throw them all huge, just throw them all in there and like try and figure them out all at the same time, as opposed to when you date and you date for a long time, issues come and go, and you figure them out like they're not all at once. When you move in with somebody and you get married and you haven't dated for that long and you got married right away, all the problems are kind of like, all right, let's figure out like 2 years worth of dating in 1 month. But we did it. It's now been 3 years. We've found a way to communicate way better with each other. We found a great way to get past those cultural differences, which I honestly did not really think were going to be a big deal at first. I was like one of them, like, you know, it's not that big of a cultural difference. Like, I'm Latino, she's like Latina, but she's also born in Colombia. I was born in America, but it's not that big of a difference. Huge fucking difference. Just like America is a very different place to grow up, and like we grew up very, very different ways, but we've now managed to get past those cultural differences and communicate like what it is that bothers us and what we like about each other.
I feel her coming because my background is my parents are Colombian, and like you're dealing with like faith and conservatism, and I think sometimes when you date like a first generation, there's like a level of like, are you wild? Am I wild? Are you too conservative? Or like, what's the boundaries?
Mm-hmm. Y'all are both
we would love
generation.
to have you guys on the show and talk about all these things.
Yeah, we've been trying to get that done for a while. We definitely need to do it. Y'all gonna have to convince Sundari-chan to come in. She's always like, oh, I'm hype, I'm ready. And then the day comes and she's like, oh no, like you're gonna have to do all the talking because I'm not gonna talk that much. I'm like, no. And she was just on the stream like a couple days ago, and she does so ready. I'm ready, she says. All right, perfect. She says she's ready. But both of y'all are first generation born here, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Oh
wait,
Ken's
Mexico,
actually. Yeah.
Oh no, you were born in Mexico. So did you spend more time there, more time here?
More time here. I came here when I was 3.
3. Okay, so you're like basically like raised in America, right?
Basically.
Do you feel, for each of you, what like Latinx upbringings do you feel like were taught to you as like a child? Like what do you feel like you got from like Mexican culture, and what do you feel like you got from like Colombian culture?
I think Colombian culture, I got like faith and a sense of family and a sense of work ethic. There was always like a real deep sense of work ethic because of having to like travel from one country to another to like make a living. I also like sense of culture, sense of like food, music, heavily into music, heavily into my self-identity as well. As much as I'm like American, but like a lot of my identity is also very much Colombian aesthetically, physically, in all sense.
Kendi?
For me, it's kind of different, being that so my mom and me and my brother were the only ones here, so we didn't have very much influence of like abuelas or tias or anything like that. And my mom herself isn't that traditional. Like, she let us pick our own religion, and she was never like, hey, your brother is a man, so he doesn't have to clean or anything like that. So I feel like I was very fortunate in that sense, because I always say I was born like coming out of my mom with like a fist up, like I hate society, like burn everything down. So I think
Wait, you weren't, you said?
Huh?
You said you weren't born like that?
I was born.
Oh,
like
you were.
So I was curated in this environment where I could do all that stuff, and I feel like if I had stayed in Mexico, it would have been like a huge problem because people in my pueblo are very traditional, religious, very machismo is off the rails there too. But it is like intergenerational, so I do have those aspects too. But it's different being born somewhere else and then coming here.
And did y'all ever struggle with like not being Latina enough? Like, was there ever a period where you felt like you weren't as Latina as somebody who was born there and then came here like at a later age?
For sure. I think every Latina goes through a phase where like you feel like you're stuck between two worlds, or specifically for me aesthetically, the way that a traditional Colombian woman looks like, I don't traditionally feel like I do look like. I'm a little bit of a mixture of like a New Yorker and a Colombian together. And if I go to Colombia, I look gringa. If I'm here, I look Latin. So it's like you never really feel like you fit in, and like your own beauty standards, you kind of merge them together between two cultures and figure it out.
Kendi?
And for me, it was like the complete opposite, because I was born in Mexico. I'm like, oh, I get discriminated against because I can't do a bunch of stuff because I'm not a citizen and stuff like that. But then people look at me and they're like, you're not Mexican, you're white. And I'm like, sir, I was literally born there. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
I feel like people have such a specific, like for Colombians as well, for a bunch of countries, they have like a specific idea of what a Mexican looks like or what a Colombian looks like. And when they don't look like that, they're just like, no, you're not actually from there. You're lying. And it's like, we don't all look the same.
It's crazy. And it's like a Latino issue specifically too, because it's like for Rocio, she's not white enough or European centric enough to be considered Colombian, and then for me it's like you're too pale to be considered Mexican. And it's like two Latinas from their nationalities, like how does that why do we have these different perspectives?
Yeah, and our level of Spanish shouldn't affect if we're Spanish enough either. Like our level of a language, being able to communicate, is always like a point of contention too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely. Hold that thought, because we're going to talk about that in a second. But Sundere-chan said something that we've been speaking about lately. How do you view the standards of beauty in Colombia or Mexico? So Sundere has been telling me a lot recently that she'll be scrolling down her timelines on social media, and a lot of the girls that she went to like school with back in Colombia, they are now getting plastic surgery. Like, plastic surgery has just become like a huge like boom. It's become more affordable, so a lot of people that she knows have been getting plastic surgery. And she's been talking a little bit about how there's a pressure now for Colombian women to get this, and like if you don't get it, the standard of beauty is that, you know, this perfect body, and like a lot of women having plastic surgery. So sometimes she'll speak about it and say how, you know, it makes her feel like this type of pressure, like, you know, being natural isn't enough. And how do you guys see that now? Do you see, I don't know if it's been happening as much here in America just because of price differences. I could totally see it just being like a more attainable thing in Colombia just because of affordability.
I think I've I've always associated like a high beauty standards with Colombia specifically. I don't know if it's because we've had the most like Miss Universes or whatever, but there's always been like a high level of like aesthetically of what we should appear on TV screens and things like that. I think what Didachan's like specifically talk about, and I feel bad because she has a beautiful figure. She's a beautiful woman.
Yes.
Our figures, our bodies are always connected to our value, and especially in Colombian culture, like for some reason, like we're supposed to come out of the house with like fully made up and tight ass jeans all the time with a thick butt and a small waist and big boobs. And like realistically, we are women, we're working women, and we don't always fit those categories. And it's just the surgery thing is ridiculous. We have like 19-year-olds having nose jobs and boob jobs, and they haven't fully developed their bodies just to fit into like an Instagram ideal.
Kendi.
Definitely. And we talk about it a lot too in the podcast of like beauty standards, specifically for like Latinas, because in society, specifically like Hollywood and all that stuff, we are just perpetrated in the spicy Latino form and very sexualized, very one dynamic type of thing. And I think that does cross over to, okay, that's how we think of Latinas here in the US. And then now because of Instagram, because of like all these social medias, now that's also crossing over to like over there. And we're like, oh, this is how we view you guys. Now you guys have to look as how we expect you to look. And I think that is also why that like surgeries and those things are going on. Even though like if you don't feel comfortable in your body, you should be able to like do whatever you like. But like Rocio mentioned, it's getting to the point where like young girls who are barely hitting puberty or starting to do these things, and that's where it gets a little bit crazy.
Real quick, thank you so much for coming, Alias Persona. Welcome to the stream. Welcome. We are here with Chica Chats, two amazing content creators. Alias Persona said, old music videos give me nostalgia because of the natural women in them. Yeah, I feel like it's not as much anymore. You know, you just see music videos and you kind of just expect some type of body work being done.
And it's cheap, and something like that should not be cheap. It's under the medical grade. You have to go under the anesthesia. Like there should be more medical like paperwork in order for you to do that to your body. What they don't talk about is the recovery, the complications. I mean, I know some women that have had butt surgery that are so hard as a rock, and they have to go through a series of massages throughout the year to make them softer. I'm like, I don't know if I would be able to sit on a rock for like a year.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that a lot, when usually on social media, when you see these women who get this plastic surgery, you're only seeing like the end outcome post recovery, post all that, because they've been waiting to flaunt it, but you don't see all of the work that they have to go through. And something that you spoke about before that me and Sundere speak about is she'll have family members who are kind of the same way, who, you know, to do anything, to go out anywhere, makeup, you know, hair done, really nice clothes and stuff. And like, it's things that I never really think about because I'm a dude. So I'm just like, sweatpants, here we go. Hey, thank you so much for following, Katie, thank you so much for coming. But those are things I never think about because I'm a dude. So I'm just like, sweatpants, here we go. I can just throw these on. And like, I think there are other things for men societally that they get pressured into like having to really be self-conscious of. I think it's very different for women, but just the makeup one and just like having to be done up all the time, that shit is just unrealistic because yeah, people are fucking working.
Yeah, I'm learning those traits. I had an experience recently where I was gonna go to like an event, and it was taking me longer than normal to get ready, and I just had to stop and tell myself like I can't keep living life like this. I just can't keep like second guessing myself or being so cautious of what I'm like. Who cares? And I, as women, I feel like sometimes we have to have conversations like that. I don't know if it's just a Latinx experience that we have so much pressure to look a certain way. But yeah, I think a lot of women are learning certain traits now that we're discovering that what is really important to us and what is really beautiful and pleasing to our eye.
And how do we do that? How do we start changing this conversation about like, listen, like beauty standards people should be happy with how they are. I obviously understand that it gets difficult for some people. Some people like are just like, look, I really am uncomfortable with this part of my body, and it's not something that like I can just accept. And like I understand that that's difficult, but like how do we start having that conversation with people where it's like, you know, love yourself, love your body. Don't feel like you need to go out there and get this surgery to look different or to look like the people on social media or the magazines.
Take a deep breath.
Real quick, thank you so much, Young CEO, for the raid. Thank you so much for the raid. Hey. Thank you to everybody who's new in here. We are having an amazing interview with Chica Chats. They are two amazing content creators and podcasters, and we are right now speaking about beauty standards.
I think Ken just recently put up a clip recently on our TikTok where I just verbalized like I just had to stop hating myself. I think all women at some point go to a breaking point, whether it's because you have an eating disorder, a body disorder, a mental disorder, some sort of a PTSD from having so much pressure to look a certain way, where you like end up in your breaking point. And I think I ended up at a breaking point, and I hope most women don't have to work themselves up to that breaking point in order to feel good about themselves. But I think what I hope is that all this, like, whether it comes to like Fenty Beauty or all these different companies that are investing in diversity in their models and what they're putting on their brands, helps this generation going forward, because we're not seeing it in Instagram, so we have to see it in other ways to kind of portray a healthier appearance of what women look like in real life.
Yeah, and like disconnecting yourself from all this media, all this like representation that at the end is not even real. The people who are there don't even look like that either. And just surrounding yourself with things that make you feel good. Like I feel one episode we had on like beauty standards and stuff like that, we're like, follow Instagrams that perpetuate different bodies who are about self-care and self-love and stuff like that. Unfollow the people like the Kardashians. They're great, they're entertaining, but if you're constantly looking at Kylie and being like, oh, like she has a perfect body, I want that, unfollow her. Like just disconnect yourself from the idea that this is the only way people look and you're in the wrong for not looking like that, and being more like, look at all these different bodies, look at all these different ways that you can love yourself, and also in your real life too. Like you look at people in real life and you're like, they're beautiful just the way that they are, and you shouldn't compare them then to a photo.
And so right here we got Alias Persona said, we must preach more self-love, and that is physical and emotionally. Your existence is one of a kind. Sundere-chan says, do you guys remember the time my friend was doing a campaign to embrace your body and we all participated? How did you feel about that?
Oh my God. I do remember. That was an experience.
I thought that was really cool. I was like watching all that like be put together, and I was like, this is really awesome, like that somebody's doing this.
Ken, we were going back and forth with pictures, and me and Ken were like, how does this look? How does this look? Should we do this? Should we do that? Because we were very like, we were nervous, but we were very excited at the opportunity to be able to show ourselves in a different way and maybe like dare ourselves to do something that we wouldn't be normally doing in our comfort zone.
Yeah, for sure. When we first heard about it, we're like, this is a great idea. I love the concept, love the message, love everything about that. And then when we were taking pictures, we were like, maybe we aren't as comfortable with our bodies as we thought we were. So that experience alone let us be like, you know what, this is how we look. We want to put this message out. We have to, whatever we are preaching, we have to do it as well, you know? So it was a great experience for that.
Oh my God, and it was COVID, so we were thicker than we normally were in our underwear. That was the trippy part.
Was that COVID? Holy shit, that was last year, right? Sundere, when did your friend do that? When did they release it? But I think it's really the social what's it called, expectations for men. I always find real interesting. I was speaking about this with Sundere-chan recently. So like, I feel like there still isn't as much discussion about larger men. Like we do have more discussion about plus size models for when it comes to women, but when it comes to men, I feel like there's still a part of society that like shames fat guys, like shames and does not appreciate like a bigger dude. Like I think it gets like for example, I don't know if y'all saw Marvel like Endgame, where Thor is real fat, and like that's supposed to be the joke, is like, oh, he got fucking really fat and like just like let go of himself. Like, you know, they was put in there as like a comedic punchline. Like, this dude who was once really fucking strong, real muscular and real good looking, is now like a fat blob who let himself go. So I think that's like one for men that that often we don't really speak about too much.
Interesting. Also, you guys have a thing with your hair. You guys, when it comes to your hair and like weight, it's like very particular with y'all. And I feel bad the minute y'all start losing hair and adding weight, it, like immediately y'all get desexualized.
Yeah, I have heard from a friend before being like, oh, I'm fucking traumatized of like, I don't want to be bald, so I let my hair just like go as long as possible. Like, I'm so scared of like being bald one day, and I'm just like, I never thought about that. Like, I guess I would be. I'm not like so much worried about that or white hair. I guess white hair is better than bald. But the other one for men that I think is huge, that I feel like we always, that is more commonly known, is like short guys. Like, I think short guys still is like a thing where society is like, like you're a short guy, and it's like still a comedic punchline in so many movies. And that's one where for men it's like, yeah, if you're a short dude, usually it tends to end up with like rejection. I've seen a lot of memes where it's like women being like, don't waste my fucking time if you're below 6 foot tall, and it's shit like that. You ever seen those?
What? I don't subscribe to those toxic. What?
Like, yeah, that's
no,
like a whole thing. Yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah. Maybe we should add that to our topic list too. Like, there's so many, like you said, standards that men have to meet, and it is crazy. But it probably also has to do with like ancient, not ancient, but like back in the day, like survival of the fittest. And when you're looking for a mate and a man, they had to be like fit so they could hunt, and tall so like the kids would be taller and bigger or something like that.
Straight up.
Yeah.
I've never seen that. That's a real thing, Sundari. I'm telling you, that is a real ass thing, which has created like, I've seen memes on back where it's like, stay strong, short kings, and like shit like that. That's a real thing. Alias Persona. It is primal. It probably does have to do something with like just wanting like a bigger, somebody who you think can protect you, because we're supposed to be, I guess, like the hunter fucking gatherers.
But yeah, it doesn't matter. Our short kings can still fight hard. Like, y'all are like, y'all have strength within y'all. Like,
well, Sundere says, I feel like it's so common to see short guys among Latinos. I think so. I guess maybe it comes more to when like, because I'll say it, like, I'm not a fucking tall dude, but like, and I've heard it. I've never like experienced like super rejection straight off of that. But like, there's been times where for sure I'm like, oh, you know, that guy, like, clothes looks better on that dude because he's taller. Like, it just looks better. Like, that outfit would look better on a taller person. Like, that thought definitely goes through you sometimes, and you're just like, oh, you know, society like wants men that are like bigger and taller, and like that's definitely like a thing. I don't know if like we speak about it so much just because, like, I don't know, dudes I feel like aren't on that wave where it's like, you go queen, like you fucking are killing it today. Like, I don't really see that from dudes. Like, it's not as much where you see dudes complimenting each other, and we gotta change that. Alias Persona, you're a fucking great person. We gotta change that.
I think it's because the male ideal, when it comes to complimenting, it's seen as like, for whatever reason, like a femme trait, instead of just be like a gender neutral thing. You should be able to compliment whoever you want if they look good or they feel good, especially your friend. It shouldn't be like a gender, it shouldn't be like a gay thing between men. It should be two men embracing each other.
And then what sucks is, like, if you're a dude, there are a lot of guys out there that are conditioned to think that if a woman compliments them, oh, they must want to sleep with me. Like, they must like me. They're attracted to me. And like, that is a real bad trait too, because then it's like almost like you can't have female friends. Like, any woman that says anything nice about you, all of a sudden you're just like, oh, they want to sleep with me.
Well, Ken actually has experience because she has a lot of male friends. So it's like, I speak on it, Ken. Speak on it. Speak for the ladies that have male friends.
No, yeah, that's. I think it's because of that, because you don't get any other compliments or any other praise from your male friends, that you're like, oh, this must mean she wants to get with me. This must mean, like, now I have to take my chance and shoot my shot because somebody gave me a compliment. But like going back to what Angie said and how we have like a lot of more short kings in our Latino space, it's also because of like European standards, like that, because we have upheld European standards and European beauty so much, it's like, oh, now we also have to uphold our own ethnicities and race to that standard, when it's like we don't really come like that.
Alias Persona, Xavier, you're a good looking dude. Thank you so much, Alias Persona. We got to compliment each other more often. Guys need to compliment each other. He said, I don't try to fit in the molds others try to perpetuate. I'm emotional as fuck. Alias Persona was on the stream a couple days ago. Their background is father is Colombian, mother is Dominican. So, Alias, do you think that you're like, because he also grew up Jehovah's Witness, so that was a really cool, interesting perspective. I never got to speak to a Jehovah's Witness. Do you think that your upbringing allowed you to become to be vulnerable and emotional? Because I feel like oftentimes in my family, like being emotional as a dude was like stop being a fuck. I don't even know what the term they would say. It was literally like, don't be emotional. You're a guy. You're not supposed to be like this. Stop crying. Like, so much of my childhood was just like, don't cry, like men don't cry, boys don't cry, like, and it was a lot of time coming from like female figures, like matriarchal figures, like my grandma being like, this is not how men are supposed to be.
I'm sorry you experienced that. That's you probably had to unlearn that now in your marriage, because now you're forced to be with a female that's like positive, so you literally have to unlearn those traits to be open in your own marriage.
Oh yeah, that shit is so real too, because sometimes I'll be thinking, I'm like, I should say how I feel about this. Like, I'll have like a random emotion that'll come up. I should bring this up and just talk about it. And I'm like, oh, well, it doesn't serve like a larger purpose. Like, it's not something that's like that big of a deal to me. Like, I don't have to bring this up. And like, I'll start thinking like, what emotions are a big deal? Like, what is worth having a conversation about? When it really should just be like anything. Like, you should just be feel free to talk about any emotion you have.
Also with your partner, like allow her to feel those things with you and let her carry your emotions too.
Yeah, and acknowledging that because you had females in your life tell you these things doesn't mean she's also going to perpetrate these things. I know, like, subconsciously it's probably there too. Like, I've heard females telling me these things, so I shouldn't then go against that. And yeah, I've heard that a lot too. Like, my mom was particularly bad at this too. She would always be like to my younger brother, like, don't cry, be a man. It's like, at one point I had to tell him, like, let him cry. He's a young man, let him cry.
There's also a thing called women that self-identify with toxic masculinity traits. So there are women that over time, because we live in this society, identify with those traits and internalize it as if they were men. So they're perpetuating in their own lives with the men in their lives. And that's why you have those conversations.
Alias, my dad was militant and would call me slurs that are definitely anti-LGBT, so I honestly just chose to be the opposite, to not become him. So I feel like that's like the two effects it could have, right? You could have like a real tough upbringing, and like because of that you'll be like, you know what, life was tough on me and my family was tough on me, so I have to now continue the cycle and be tough on my kids and be tough on society and be tough on those that are like I'm in a relationship with. Or you could have the opposite effect where you're like, hey, my parents and my family were like this, and I swear to God, I'll never be like this my whole life. I promise I'll never do this to my kids. The way that my parents did this to me, I'll never do that. Like, it could have like those two effects. But it's scary because you don't know which one it's going to have.
Therapy is the only way to break that.
Oh yeah,
and acceptance as well. Like, being like, am I going to continue this just because that's how we've been for so long, or am I going to finally put an end to it and make sure my kids don't go through it, make sure the people around me don't go through it?
Did y'all watch Sábado Gigante growing up?
Yes.
Yo, I want to show, I was going through Sábado Gigante just to see how much like media has changed in, like, because Univision and Telemundo I feel like are the two huge ones. Oh wait, before I go any further, I see two big comments here. Promised my mom I would never cheat or hurt a woman. Still haven't ruined that promise and don't plan to do it. Alias Persona, we were talking about this the other day, where Latin men have like a reputation. Either they're super faithful or they're fucking dogs as fuck. They're fucking perros. And he said that he was blessed with, like, he's been super faithful because he said he witnessed his dad like just being like a dog, a real like playa. And what do y'all think about that? Latin men, when it comes to dating them, is it tough? Is it real hard? Be real about it too. Like, I get Tsundere-chan said, "Oh God, Latin men."
That's our response. Oh God, Latin men.
The no comment, Alias Persona, the no comment says it all. I imagine it could be real tough. And you know, I've heard comments before, which like it brings in the stereotypes. Like somebody once told my friend, like, "Oh, I would never want to date like a light-skinned Dominican. Like light-skinned Dominicans, they're fucking, they play with you, they play with your emotions, they're fucking bad people." And I was like, damn, like I didn't know we had this reputation. That shit is tough. Like that shit is hard. And I think it says a lot. I don't know what it is. Like Dominicans, we were talking about this the other day. Dominicans love to be flashy and they love to be just like the shit. Like there's something about just Dominican men that love just flexing for no fucking reason. And oftentimes
the machismo is high with y'all.
Yeah, they right though. Nah, I'm messing. So what are y'all thoughts on this?
You know what? I was just thinking about as you're talking about it. Do you think it comes from the ancestral colonizational thing where like you, as a Caribbean culture, you've been oppressed. So now that it's more of like rejoicing in yourself and being like, I don't see it. I get what you mean. Like maybe like being a little bit too showy or whatever, flashy. But I also think it's a good thing. Like I think men should celebrate themselves, like aesthetically. Like why not? Like.
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely have a lot of cousins that just you see them with the Gucci belt. Once you see the Gucci belt, you know they come through to just flex and smoke hookah.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, is it tough? Like when you go, like when you're dating, right? When you're out there and you're seeking a partner. Is there like warning flags like, oh, this is a Latino dude? Like, is there any extra warning flags that you like tend to look for?
Oh my God, yes, so many.
Where do you?
Like that's a thing, like an issue we keep talking about when it comes to dating, and especially us because we're very like outspoken about what we believe in and what we stand for and stuff like that. So like dating within the Latinx community, it's like, okay, do you believe in machismo? Do you believe in women should be equal? But like those things have to be brought up in the beginning for us because it's like there's so much work that has to be done if you don't think those things are true. And there have been so many times where I have been like on a date or something and they would be like, oh well, no, I don't believe women should work as much as I should or some stupid shit like that. And I'm like, I gotta go.
Yeah.
Next.
I shared with Ken recently. I had a friend that had an experience where she went on a date and she was sharing her like goals, her personal like professional goals with her date. And she could see the date, like the face was like deflating, like almost like shrieking in his seat at the fact that this girl was like sharing her aspirations, and they were big aspirations, and it kind of triggered his insecurity in the conversation. And like I think a lot of women are, whether they're Spanish or not, are finding themselves in the situation where we're aspiring to greater things financially, economically, socially. And we're finding that sometimes men, for whatever reason, correlate that and it triggers self-insecurity. And some men, not all men, are finding it really difficult to wrap their heads around it.
Hell yeah.
I just don't get it. Like in today's society, in today's economy, like you need two people out there working and grinding. Like what the fuck do these guys expect?
Y'all don't like money either? Like
y'all want to work twice as fucking hard?
Yeah. Y'all don't want to go on vacations? Y'all don't want to take a day off?
And where does that shit stem from? Like they just don't want their wives to be in the workplace because they might be around other men?
That could be part of it. Controlling is a big part of it. If I hold the money, I hold the power. You can't do anything without me because where are you going to go? Where are you going to live? What are you going to do?
True. That's true. As
For
fuck.
a lot of like past history of like our ancestors, our grandmothers, our mothers, that was a big thing. Like, you have to stay with your husband, because I never had a job. I had never had any form of income, so I have to stay here even though I absolutely hate this person. And I think that's what now triggers so much insecurity in guys, because for so long y'all held the power and you could do whatever you want, and now we're just like, no, this is gonna be 50-50, and guys are just like, oh, so then what do I bring to the table? I saw this clip of like an interview, and the guy was like, well, I bring women security and I bring them a house. What do y'all bring me? And the lady was just like, well, I bring like,
sounds like a job interview.
Yeah. She was like, I make your house a home. I do this, I do that. Like, it's not just, you're just giving me a home. I could buy a home myself. And he's like, no, what are y'all bringing? Y'all don't bring anything. But it was disgusting, to be honest. But I'm just like, people still really think like this.
Oh my God. I feel like the guy was like expecting her to be like, I'll cook for you and I'll clean and I will have your children because I'm a baby making machine. And like, that was the fucking answer he was expecting. It's just so strange. Like, Alias Persona said, they feel shrunken down, insignificant, and replaceable because she's a badass. I think that has a lot to do with it, like men not wanting to feel like they could be replaced, feeling like, hey, like, well, where else you're more likely to oversee this fight that we just had, or you're more likely to oversee this mistake I made if you don't really have another option, if you don't have anywhere to go, if you like have no family around, like you're real quick to overlook that stuff, and that shit is fucked up. I was talking earlier about Sábado Gigante because I was looking through like some of the skits and stuff that they used to run, and I was like, damn, I wonder if they could run this shit now. Like, it's so crazy. I'm gonna tell me if you see it on the, what's it called, on the screen, that way we could play it just to see. So like those who didn't grow up with like Spanish media and Spanish culture, they could see some of the stuff that I feel like my grandma was playing this every fucking Saturday. Sábado Gigante was huge. So let me know if y'all can hear this, just this first skit. This shit is crazy. Preso número 9. Y'all can hear it? Ya lo van a fusilar.
¿Y tú qué número eres?
El 10.
By the way, Xavier, my aunt actually went to a taping, and I have some goss for you.
About Sábado Gigante?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, how do you get on? It's in Florida, right?
Yeah, so apparently there was this thing that, I don't know if it was online, where you could go with tickets online. I believe the tickets were, I don't know if they were free or not. But behind the scenes, it was even more atrocious.
It's crazy. All right, just so that people can see this first skit. This is very, I think, representative of what a lot of like Latinx fucking media used to be like. I don't know if it's still like this. It might possibly still be like this, but like, I'm gonna skip forward a little bit, and all right, y'all can see it already. This is a lot of the times how they portray women. The woman is a cop. She comes in super just unrevealed and like super sexual right off the bat. Comes in just like, hello, I'm the officer. And this shit is crazy to me. I'm like, wow, they were really just like playing this. And I don't know when this is, 2011 it says, but I think it might be earlier. But I'll translate some for those that don't speak Spanish here. Just keep playing it. Oh yeah, and Sundere-chan says they never have a brain. They're always just like, well, hello, how are you, officer? I'm the new girl. Alright, let's keep playing this.
¿Qué significa esto? Usted mismo lo dijo, teniente, que Bellota de ahora en adelante iba a ser un oficial de cubiertas. Dije, encubiertas.
Oh, so, alright, so it's supposed to be an undercover cop, but it's like, so the word, I guess, in Spanish for undercover and without clothes is very similar. So like, they're saying she was supposed to be an undercover cop, not a cop with no clothes. This shit is crazy to see, like, because kids were watching this. I would watch this as a child. Like, Sábado Gigante was something for families.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. It was like a family show, but I remember being like very creeped out most of the time.
This is supposed to be like for like they didn't put like any like warnings or anything. This is just like what people were supposed to like laugh at.
Yeah, I never appreciated his one-on-one interviews with the female guests. It was always kind of sketchy.
Oh damn, I gotta see one of those. I haven't seen one of those. Don
He's
Francisco.
always creepy.
Don Francisco, what the fuck, man? Alright.
No. Pensándolo bien, así está muy bien. ¿Qué dicen ustedes?
And it's always like a whole bunch of dudes around.
This one, yeah.
Ruperta se reporta, teniente. He sido asignado a su unidad.
Qué bien, porque estamos faltos de personal. Esta es la
I'm sure
oficial
she's
de
the butt of the joke because she's not half naked.
Exactly. I was gonna say, so, literally, like you could. It's so predictable. It's like all this Spanish humor is so predictable. It's literally like the sexy woman comes in, and then all of a sudden you have the woman who's supposed to be not as attractive. Oh well, we don't want her around, and then they end up with her. Other than like they don't end up with the hot girl, and like everybody laughs because they ended up with her instead. This shit is so fucking like every stereotype. Sundares-chan says, and it was so normal to me. It really created in my head that showing body and being stupid was normal. And the worst part is that the ugly woman is always short and messy haired.
Yep. And then
That's
they don't say it out loud, but you see these images and you see how she's the joke, and so subconsciously it stays in your mind. Like, oh, if I don't look like this other girl, I'm the butt of the joke. I'm the one who doesn't get gawked at.
And somehow we're programmed that we need to appreciate negative male attention. Like we need to be appreciated by catcalling, which that is not the way.
Absolutely.
Not at all. Alias Persona says, this is still a problem in society now. Stop showing hypersexual and oversexualized things to minors, music videos, ads, etc. Hell yeah, it's still a huge problem. Alias, we're going to talk about that because I feel like there is a part of it where like you as a parent have to just like put the parental blocks on. Like, you know, we're going to talk about that because that is a big topic. I feel like it comes up a lot when it comes to Lil Nas X. So we can discuss that in a little bit. Let me just finish this skit so y'all can see some more of the problems that like are very prevalent in this media.
Hola. Ya no te resfríes, muchacha.
Mire, esos son los presos.
Oh, los presos.
Mucho gusto.
So they all get real freaked out. They're like, oh shit. But before they were just like drooling, like literally like a fucking drool. Like the most stereotypical thing of men, like the other woman with no clothes on. And then the other woman comes by and they're just like, oh God. Not good.
Aquí tiene al sargento Godínez.
Yo creo que usted y yo nos vamos a entender muy bien.
Yo creo que no.
Ya vas a ver quién es Ruperta.
Sargento Godínez.
Why does the ugly girl have to be the pervert?
Yeah. But only the ugly one is the one who actually has like a sex drive, and then the sexual woman is supposed to be just like submissive, just like kind of just standing around there waiting for like a guy to like initiate everything.
Very oblivious.
Nuevo oficial a conocer
I
las
actually don't know how this shit
dependencias.
ends. Like, what is the point of
Eso es
this?
necesario, teniente.
Es muy necesario.
¿Qué pasa, hombre? ¿Qué pasa?
So I'm gonna fast forward just to another one, literally, so people can see just how prevalent it is. Like another skit. Doctors, this used to happen all the time. The doctor that's just like, oh, you gotta take off your clothes.
Same. It was really creepy.
This shit is so fucking creepy, and it's just like this like oblivious woman who's just like, oh, I guess I gotta take off my clothes because the doctor says so.
And this like is an actual thing that happens in real life, like sexual harassment in doctor's office and doctors taking advantage of people.
But here they're making it as like a joke, as a skit,
Like a light
this is
joke.
supposed to be normal.
On a family
Chan
show.
says this one is the worst. Yeah, this one is really fucking bad. This one is, I can't believe they got away with just doing this shit, and they probably can still do this.
Can I ask you guys a question? Did you guys ever watch those summer movies that used to give on Univision, those prank movies? And a lot of times they were prank females like in bathrooms or pulling up their skirts or hitting on them aggressively too.
Nah, what is that? What the fuck?
So on Univision, during the summertime, they would do this like in the 90s. They would have this series of movies. I forgot what they're called, but it was like their version of Jackass, but it was literally pranking women, but like harassing them, like following them to the bathroom, doing these little skits where like they would put a dress on a girl, but the dress would be able to be ripped off. So the girl's walking, it's a paid model, so she's walking down the street, and they would just flip the dress down, and she would be like in her bra and underwear in front of the public, and that would be the prank. Like the public would be embarrassed, and the girl would be embarrassed.
Oh my God, when was that being, what?
I will send you a clip, trust me.
Sundere said, I saw these so much. That shit is horrible. What the fuck? And it was like always targeting women? Predominantly? Oh my God. That shit is sad, because it's like, it literally, like, you start to understand why Latin America has such high rates of femicides, and why so many what's it called, reports of like domestic abuse go unreported, because like you create a society where it's just like understandable to make women the butt of these jokes, and to make them just like the ones that like, oh, you know, even it's not harassment, we're just joking around.
Like making women uncomfortable is something that's normal, and it's something that you should be doing.
Horrible. Let me just finish this just so people see how much worse it is.
Tiene que obedecer a su doctor. Quítese la falda. Quítese la falda. Es el juramento hipocrático.
So literally telling her you have to, like, I'm just caring about your health, you gotta take off your clothes. She, I think, ends up saying, I'm not the patient, the patient is my sister. She says, so the sister is the real patient. And then again you have, he screams because he sees this less attractive person who he said, oh well, she's a sister, so it must run in the family that you're all good looking. And then this is his reaction. This shit is crazy. I was watching this not too long ago, and I was like, what the fuck? How the fuck did they get away with doing shit like this? And I don't even know the years on these skits, but I imagine that a lot of the comments are que recuerdos, yo veía este programa de chiquita en compañía de mi mami. So people saying like, oh man, I remember when we used to watch this, and like totally normal, totally fucking normal.
We normalize it so bad, and now when we look back at it, we're like, what the hell are we watching?
You see people say, I don't speak Spanish, but I thank this show for helping me through middle school in the late 90s. Como me encantaba este programa, like how I love this program. Que tiempos más bonitos, like what beautiful times. Jose Salvador. I looked at the name, I was like, is this a dude? Yeah, it's a dude.
Of course.
The beautiful times, the good old times where you could harass women and nobody said anything. Somebody, voy a extrañar la cuatro con sus ocurrencias y a Sábado Gigante. Another dude who says he's missing this. But then you get women who are like, I love this show.
Well, like I said, there's women that internalize that toxic masculinity, and they do it to the point that like they don't see the negativity in it. Not
good. It's really, really bad. Like, you see, it was so normal. Yeah, Sundere-chan, like going through the comments, you start seeing, as a kid, you don't see it that way, I guess, but like these are grown-ups being like rewatching it now as grown-ups, and they're like, oh, I missed this. Like rewatching this as a grown-up, like I understand as a kid, because I was like, I didn't think about any of this stuff. I didn't think about social issues or anything like that as a child. But rewatching this now as a grown-ass adult and being like, wow, I missed these. These were beautiful times. It makes you think like, what are your like values here? That this is what you miss.
Yeah, that's the difference between you staying with all the traditional sides of Latinidad and all the toxic sides of it, and just normalizing it and being like, this is how we are, this is so fun, blah blah blah. Or you breaking away from that and being like, hold up, let's dissect this a little bit. And again, these are the topics that we were talking about in the beginning of the interview. All of these things, they stem from shit like this that we saw when we were younger.
Yeah, I think Ken and I touched on one of the episodes, like we're about to have a really interesting next 10 years, because we have all these generation of men and women are learning all these toxic, unhealthy habits, I wonder what this Latinx marriage ideal is going to be like, because there are men that are scared of unions, commitments, or like even what is a man. They don't even know identifying themselves as a man because they're so confused by all the mixed messages they had growing up. But we also have women that are trying to understand that from their perspective too and be understanding, but we're also repressed in the same way. So like, who knows, like, we're either going to have like a lot of open marriages and like a new changing of like what relationships are, or we're going to have a super conservative thing happening, because we have these two clashing of times happening right now.
Yeah, the next 10 years, I'm very interested too, because it's like Gen Z is either very, very open and very accepting and very liberal minded, or you get the opposite end of the spectrum where you get fucking like not neo-Nazis and shit. Like Gen Z can get real toxic real fucking quick on TikTok.
Yeah, that's the sad part about like our times right now. We are very like at the end of the spectrum with both things. It's either tradition, let's keep going, let's go back to the good old times, all that stuff, or just people pushing for like, let's completely forget about that, start fresh, start new. And I don't know, or maybe they're both wrong, maybe one is right, we don't know yet.
1 second, guys. I got these fucking bots are out like crazy, and I know they're fucking bots right now. Let me just block all these motherfuckers. Oh god, stop, no.
So what, they're actually in your chat right now?
So if you see right now, if you look at the chat, it'll say thank you for following, and it's just a bunch of letters, like 5 different accounts, and that's why this sound alert just keeps going on. Oh man, I can't believe this has happened twice. It's definitely, I do have Latinx and the LGBTQIA tag on and shit. I've had them on for the last like 5 streams, and I wonder if that's what they're targeting. That shit is fucked up. That shit really makes me sad, because I knew one streamer whose account got deleted. Literally, Twitch like thought that they were doing some like follow for follow shit, and they deleted their account, and they have to restart now. That shit is really fucked up. My bad. I was just fucking going through all the bullshit. I wanted to show y'all this clip as well. I don't know if y'all ever saw this. Y'all know Doctor Apollo?
Yes.
Y'all know Doctor Apollo. Doctor Apollo is like the Latin fucking version of like Judge Judy, I feel. Judge Judy, yeah. This is fucking Latina Judge Judy. There was a clip a while ago where it's called this girl confronts the Doctor Apollo, and Doctor Apollo is basically just like, you speak Spanish, you better be proud of your heritage. I want to watch this clip because I think in so many, like, I couldn't believe reading comments of people supporting the doctor and being like, yeah, fuck that little girl, that little disrespectful girl. Like, I want to see y'all react to this, and we'll talk about it. And because I know earlier you were speaking about like the amount of Spanish you know should not determine your heritage, and it should not determine how Latinx you feel. So here, watch this. This fucking intro song is fucking engraved into my head too forever. Caso cerrado. This is some fucking Spanish classic shit. Doctor Apollo.
Buenas tardes.
Hello. Good afternoon.
So I was speaking about this with Sundere-chan. I don't know, part of this felt scripted because she was like, hola, ¿cómo estás? And then the first thing this girl says is, good afternoon, hello, how are you? Like, very English. I feel like most people would come in and be like, hola, like, even if you don't speak Spanish, you would probably just say hola. But it felt like it was just so scripted, because now what's about to ensue is the doctor being like, you need to speak fucking Spanish. But I don't know, that shit felt scripted as fuck at first, when she's like, hello, good afternoon.
No, ningún afternoon y ningún hello.
Yeah, I do think
no,
that
ningún.
Sure.
No, aquí tú hablas español. Esto es un programa en español. Aquí se habla español. Aquí nosotros no ponemos letreritos.
So to those that don't speak Spanish, she's literally saying, on this program we speak Spanish. Do not come in here with no good afternoon bullshit. You come in here and you fucking speak Spanish. This is a Spanish speaking program.
Y tú te llamas Luna.
Yes.
Your name is not Moon. Okay.
Well, it sounds pretty Luna.
Así que Luna. Y me hablas español aquí. Y no te hagas la cómica. No lo hagas.
But I don't.
¿De dónde tú eres? ¿De dónde eres?
I was born in Colombia.
Háblame español.
I
Me
Yeah, Tsundere-chan, the moon. Okay, right off the bat, you can see like, all right, this woman is here to humiliate. This woman is not here to teach. Like, it's not here to educate. It's not here to give you a lesson. This woman was here to fucking humiliate a child. This is a 14-year-old girl. Like, Ana Maria Polo is a badass. Bro, not in this clip. Not in this clip, man. Like, you could give me your opinion on this. I thought I was tight. I was fucking mad as hell. If I was this, I wished I was on Doctora Polo and I was the one who came out and she just started being like, speak fucking Spanish. Because this girl, the way she handles it is like real innocent like. And I would not have handled it like this. But, go back 1 second.
¿De dónde eres?
I was born in Colombia.
Háblame español.
I
Me hablas español.
don't feel comfortable
Escúchame,
talking
si
in
no hablas
Spanish.
español, te vas. Así que hablas español o te vas. ¿Me estás entendiendo? Y no estoy jugando contigo. A mí no me vas a hacer reto. No me vas a hacer reto, no me interesa. Tus retos
Does she have
cochinos,
to climb over
estúpidos,
the desk
idiota.
intensely and just be like, I gotta tell you something?
Yeah, yo, so Alias Persona, why is she tweaking? Right now, if you're not listening, it's basically this girl came in. We didn't watch the full rest of the episode. There's more context why this girl is here. But right now, she's like, you come in here and you speak Spanish. And she says some shit. She's like, something cochinadas. And she's going in. Like, these are some fighting fucking words. You go in there and you're just like, these fucking cochinadas, no man, fucking. That was not the way to talk to her. Not at all, Tsundere-chan. Like, she really, like, yeah, you see, like, her fucking over the desk. It looks real fucking aggressive right now. This is not a lesson to be learned. This is not like a, hey, you know, you should understand, like, you should be in touch with your roots. You have the amazing chance of being bilingual. You should really appreciate that. There are people out there that really fucking wish that they knew more languages. She's not like that. Ana Maria Polo lost my respect. That was quick. Just watch the rest of the clip because I don't know. You know, this one clip just really put me off to her, but just watch the rest.
No me vas a hacer reto, no me interesa. Tus retos cochinos, estúpido, idiota. Tú sabes, el que habla 2 idiomas se llama bilingüe. El que habla 3 le dicen trilingüe. Tú sabes el que habla 1, ¿cómo le dicen? ¿Sabes? Americano. Tú no eres americana, tú eres colombiana. Tú eres colombiana y lo que te corre en esa sangre es Colombia. Así que no te equivoques. Y esto es un programa en español. Si no hablas español, en la próxima palabra te largas. ¿Me entendiste? Si no hablas español, te largas.
Sí, señora.
Qué bueno. Hablemos español. ¿De dónde se te ocurrió el don stupid, idiota, reto de hablar inglés?
Con todo respeto, doctora, le voy a explicar lo que pasó, por favor. Yo entré, sí, solo era un reto, no expectaba, pero esta es América. Pues estamos...
¿Y qué?
See, this is where I watched this clip and I was like, no, don't tell me this girl is about to hit her with the, this is America, we speak English here. Because then I was like, now I'm not on the side of the girl anymore. Now I'm on nobody's side because that shit was stupid.
I think that what you're seeing is also like interesting enough. You're seeing the Doctora Polo's point of view. You see someone who's like, her background is also like very complex. I think she has like a Caribbean background. So I don't know if you're dealing with someone who's trying to deal with assimilation and publicly like putting her ideas of assimilation onto a child that doesn't qualify for. I think sometimes that people, when we have internalized hate, we project it onto other things. And right now she's projecting onto a child things that she probably dealt with assimilating to coming to this country, finding a job, and employment, education, and professing it to a child and not really on a bigger platform too, which is kind of toxic.
Alias said, so Ana Maria Polo is Cuban, is what he says. This whole thing just felt real fucking weird because it's like, if you ever had a situation where on a viral clip you saw somebody being like, speak English, you need to speak English here in this program, you speak English, and if the next word out of your mouth is not English, you get the fuck off my program. But here you have a situation where she's literally like, if you don't speak Spanish, in the next word, you get the fuck out of here. You get off my program right now. In this program, we speak Spanish. And it's like, I have cousins who don't speak Spanish. Like, they are Mexican, Dominican, don't speak any Spanish for their own reasons. When they were younger, they just had like speech problems that like they couldn't be taught Spanish. So each person has their own reason why they choose not to speak Spanish or why they were not taught Spanish. And for someone to be just like, you need to speak Spanish, your heritage, like she was literally saying like, you have Colombian blood in you, you are Colombian, that shit runs through you, you need to remember your heritage. That shit is fucked up, because it's like, now you're saying what? Because I don't speak Spanish, like I shouldn't be proud of my Colombian heritage? I shouldn't be proud of the Colombian blood that runs through me?
Yeah, both extremes seem very bad. Like both of like, you have to speak English if you're in America, and you have to speak Spanish if you're from the Latino America. Like that they're both, I think, wrong. They're both different sides of the same coin, basically.
Do y'all have family members that don't speak Spanish?
Yeah, I have a ton, and I think a lot of them go through, you see them struggle. And as far as like communicating with their elders, even with their own parents, because you can't properly communicate, or like, and it's frustrating because like you should be able to communicate basic emotions with like close around you, and feel like you have that little border between y'all. It could be really intense.
And a lot of the time is like out of their control too. They didn't mean to grow up without speaking Spanish. It just kind of happened.
Just happens. Like, you need somebody to teach you, right? Like at an early age, you need if somebody teaches you, it's not your fault, and you grow on later to like not know it. Sundari-chan said, I'm not in neither side, because in the video it seems like the girl is ashamed of her Latinidad, but we haven't watched the whole video to actually know what is happening. Yeah, there's like more context to it once you start watching it. I think apparently she went into like a store, and the cashier only spoke Spanish, and she was kind of telling her like, speak English to me, this is America. So now Dr. Apollo was kind of doing like a reverse shame and being like, well, you speak Spanish here, and like it's just real disgusting on all sides, because like nobody should have to prove what they are by what they speak.
Exactly.
Shit, not good. But yeah, that clip right there, that shit really pissed me off, because I have family members who don't speak Spanish, and it sucks because I could tell they get real frustrated when they speak to like a family member that only speaks Spanish. Like if they speak to like my grandma, it gets real frustrating because they feel like people are speaking about them behind their back, and they don't really know what is being said. They get real frustrated. Oftentimes, other family members will try and be like, oh, say this, dile esto, and they're just like, they're struggling and like saying something that they don't really know, like they're not fully comfortable with.
Yeah, and like Rocio said, it was also a big part of assimilating to this country for a lot of immigrants. Like a lot of immigrants did have to leave their native languages behind and teach that to their kids too. Like, you'll be better off if you don't speak Spanish, because if you do speak Spanish, people are going to treat you a different way. So now we're being punished for assimilating to a country. Like, it's weird on both sides.
Residual shit from like even colonial like shit, us denying our own ancestry and native language to begin with, and still dealing with it now when you come to America, to a whole colony. And even now, like, you'll see people, like, I feel for, like, think about the immigration problems we're having now with different countries. All those people are gonna have we're gonna have a whole another generation of immigration.
Yeah.
And now people are even taking it even further too, with like terms, Latin terms or Spanish terms that are coined here in America and not coined in our respected countries. Like, I know Latinx has been hitting a chord with a lot of people, because people in like Colombia, Mexico and stuff like that, they're like, that's not a real word, don't use that. Like, only Americans use that because it's not a Spanish word, it's not like a Latina word or anything like that. And it's like, well, neither is Spanish, so what are we so now we have to reach back into like our native languages. Well, we can't, we're this far gone. Like, we can't. It would be a beautiful thing if we could just like scrape away Spanish and English and just go back to our native languages. So that's not a thing anymore, and you can't belittle the experience of a Latino in America because it's not authentic to the experience of a Latino in Latin America.
I've seen, like, pretty recently on Reddit for Latinos, somebody go as far as to say that Latinx was a racial slur. They're like, do not call us Latinx, that's a racial slur and it's whitewashing. They really have the idea that this is there's like a real idea that like this is a term that was created by like elite Americans from like universities.
When it's a term that's used to identify a community within our own community that has not been identified for years. And if you think about our ancestry, we've had the X, we just haven't had it represented. If you look back to our native ancestry, then they have existed since then. Queerty is a thing that's existed since then. This whole like colonization with whitewash, that's the real whitewashing. Our colonization of our culture is the whitewashing. The history that we don't teach in our schools, that is the whitewashing.
Yeah. And these, like Rocio said, these terms have been already in our culture, and just because we are coining them different here in America doesn't mean like, and it's a lot of cis people who are cis Latinos who are being disgusted by this word. And it's like, okay, so we have Latinx and Latine. How do you say it? Latinx?
Latine.
With the E? Latine, right? So, okay, so now we have these two terms. Why are you being so offended with something that doesn't even particularly have to involve you? Where, like Rocio said, we're involving a whole other community that has been so underrepresented and is finally getting that exposure. But you as a cis Latino now, it's like, you're disgusted by it. It's not your place to say anyways.
And I had for a while, I had trouble like figuring out like, where did this term come from? Like, where did this just come out of nowhere? Until somebody explained to me, it's literally just for people of Hispanic heritage that are non-binary. Like, that's just like the simple thing. They are not, you can't call them Latino or Latina because they do not identify as either gender. And I think it always comes down to people don't really understand the difference between sex and gender, which also like then creates like a whole rabbit hole of like misunderstandings and shit. Hey, thank you so much for following the Techno Elf. This is a real follower. This is not a fucking bot. Thank you so much for coming through to the discussion. We have Chica Chats on right now. I wanted to do a little bit of a segment with y'all about relationship advice because I feel like y'all are great at this. And so I go on Reddit, on relationship advice Reddit, and there was a couple posts on there that I'm always like, damn, I would love to talk to this person and give them some advice. So here it says, my 26, anyways, my new boyfriend and I are sexually incompatible. I cannot anymore. I've tried telling him that it's too much, but I don't think he understands. I get no sleep when I go to his place. I've told him no, but he'll beg until I give in, only to wake me up an hour or later for another round. I'm starting to hate sex. I've asked for a break for a few days, but to be honest, I'm starting to think we're sexually incompatible, and I think this is reasonable grounds to break things off. He's a great guy, but I'm overwhelmed and feel like I can't keep up. It's affecting my ability to stay up at work, and I've recently started to dread going to this place. Boyfriend is an Energizer bunny, and he's draining all my juice. So
she's sore.
What advice do you give to someone who has, I guess, like incompatible libidos?
Get some rest. Like, she's sore. That's what it is. It's like,
oh my
God.
I feel like this is often like like something that unfortunately has come into like media and stuff, where a lot of times you'll see the female character portrayed as like, in a lot of like jokes as well, as like, oh, they just want to go to sleep, they don't want to have sex, like they're the ones with little sex drive, like, and they've almost made it seem like men are always the ones who initiate sex and like women are supposed to just be there ready, like, which is so fucking like not even true, like the furthest thing from truth, but somehow that is what's portrayed in media, and I feel like oftentimes like people think that.
Ken, you want to say something? you know you want to say, go ahead.
That goes into like a whole rabbit hole of like how sex is portrayed between two different genders, especially because like for you guys it's bing bang bong, like you're good, and for
there's no fantasy
like,
no more, there's no talk about the romance.
For like people with vaginas, it's a different experience. It's not, it's, you guys haven't been taught, well, males haven't really been taught to like, you know, foreplay and warming up and doing this, and like us getting orgasms isn't really talked about either. It isn't a particular thing men have in mind when doing intercourse with women either. So maybe that's also a talk. Like, is this only for his pleasure, and why is it only his pleasure? Why? They should definitely have like honest conversation. She should be like, sir, I need rest. I need you to calm down.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a problem if she's like, hey, look, like, this is too much. Like, I'm going to work and I'm fucking tired. You're keeping me up at like 3 a.m, which is not cool. Like, I wonder what this dude does, like, when she goes off to work.
I don't fucking know.
Yeah, right? And then if he's all of a sudden like, well, that's not going to be good enough. Like, I guess I'm going to have to go find my pleasure elsewhere. Like, that's where you're just like, yeah, break shit off. Like, I can't believe you're even asking. Like, people come onto these advice things sometimes, and I'm like, I can't believe you're asking. No! God fucking damn it, I keep getting raided by these fucking bots.
Oh, I know.
Damn, these shit suck. But maybe it won't play right now. I'll figure that out afterwards. Another piece of advice that I wanted to get y'all. So saw my ex's girlfriend's current boyfriend on a date with someone else. So essentially you break up with somebody and then you see their new boo cheating on them. Do you tell them?
No. I don't. I have a rule. I don't get myself into other people's relationship business. Someone can tell me something and I can, if they ask for my opinion directly, like, I want your opinion directly, I will give it. Sometimes I give people in those situations. Now, when I was younger, I used to. Now I just give them a little bit of time to play it out, because I don't want to be that friend that's the cause of destruction of that relationship. If that's the relationship going to end, it has to end up by organically its own thing. And you could lose a friend in the consequence, unless it's like a super unhealthy thing, like if it's abusive verbally or mentally. I would proactively say something. But like if it's something that, like a cheating thing, I kind of have to wait. She is going to find out. I may take a picture. I may send it in the mail secretly. But like, I try not to get myself like with a mysterious stamp. But try not to get myself direct, because like it gets messy with friendships and relationships.
It does get messy, because then they can be like, then the new person can just be like, oh, they're just trying to break us up.
Yeah.
I gotta figure out. One second. I gotta turn off this fucking. Fuck, how do I turn this off? I fucking can't believe I got all these bots tonight. I don't know what happened. This has never happened before, but I have been bot rated to hell, and I hope Twitch doesn't take away my channel. But if it does happen, fuck you bots. And I think for these situations, a lot of times, it depends on like how you ended off with that person, because if like you have like if like they cheated on you, do you really then go and tell them, like, or are you just like, well, there goes karma?
True.
So I feel like it often has to like depend on, all right, how did we break things up? Like, were things real bad? Because if karma's just working their way around, I guess that's what it is.
That's true, yeah. For me, it's mostly like, what would I want that person to do? So I always believe in like honesty and stuff. So if I would want that person to tell me, then I will tell that person, because I would want the truth. And if you saw it, let me know. We had a history. We were together at one point. You cared about me at one point. You should care enough about me to be like, hey, this is what I saw. Don't know what it is. This is what I experienced, what I saw with my eyes. Do with that information what you will, but
what you please.
I did my part. I said my truth.
I'm telling you, here it is. There was another situation that we spoke about a while ago. I would love your opinions on. It was essentially this dude came onto Reddit and he was like, basically, my sex drive is really high. My wife right now is taking what's it called? Some type of antidepressant. Okay. And which made her sex drive literally zero. And he was feeling like, you know, he didn't get enough out of the sexual part of their relationship, to the point where the wife was like, you know what, I'm giving you the pass. Go out there, sleep with somebody else. I know that it's just sex. At the end of the night, you're still gonna come home to me. And the guy was kind of just like, what do I do with this? I really don't want to use this pass, but I feel like I need sex, and like my wife is telling me to go do it. What advice would you give on that?
So I think this also connects to the first Reddit we read. I think we're missing a part of sex education as people in society. It's conversation. intimacy does not only have to be physical intimacy, it could be mental intimacy. And I think a part of our sex ed is unlocking that for the sexes. I think we'd be a much healthier society sexually if we realize, like, if his wife is going through a low libido, there are other physical, mental acts he can do onto her if they could reach a communication level to satisfy on some level sexuality and meet somewhere. And if they are going to branch out into an open relationship, what does that mean? It shouldn't come out of a spite or painful situation. It should come out of enjoyment and wanting to fulfill each other's needs in a healthy way.
Kenny, what do you think?
And like open relationships are a thing, and if she is willing to make their relationship work even though she's in this tough spot, then like kudos to her. And he should like try it out once. If you feel too guilty, if you feel bad, well then try another avenue, try something else. But that's crazy. That is a thing that happens when you get medicated for like depression or anxiety, stuff like that. Your sex drive just like plummets, and it's not really talked about either.
A lot of people were saying that she might say this, like she might be like, oh, you know, this is all cool and whatnot, and give him the pass. But then when it actually happens, it might make her feel worse, and it might affect her mental health even worse to know like he did actually go and sleep with somebody.
That's what I'm saying. She shouldn't do it now when they're struggling. They should do it after they go to some type of sex. There's also sex therapy. They could go to a sexologist as a couple and figure out each other's needs. Like, what is his particular physical need? Does he prefer oral over physical? Does he prefer being touched, cuddled? Like, what is his physical needs? What each other's physical needs? And learn how to like meet and have a conversation, and then have the conversation of like, are we open? Are we not?
And boundaries for sure. Like, okay, you will be seeing other people, but maybe intimacy for her is kissing, so she could be like, okay, but you can't kiss. And it's different. You can have either sleep together but you can't kiss, or you can sleep together but it has to be somebody I don't know, or you can sleep together but I never want to hear about it. You know, those boundaries are important as well.
Yeah, when I saw this post, it was like the guy really seemed like he did not want to do it. He's like, I love my wife. I really like, I just want to have like sex with her, but she doesn't want to do it. And she's telling me, the wife was literally being like, I'll pay for it. I'll pay for like a sex worker for you if that's what it means. And like, I don't know, it's tough because I feel like he might go and do it, and the second that he does it, it's like, it's going to be horrible. It's going to be it's just going to be worse on her. It's going to make her mental health worse. And then it's going to be a situation where they're not going to be able to get over it. And then on top of that, how sustainable is it? Because now what? Every time that he wants to have sex, she either has to get him a sex worker or he's going to go out and like, I don't know. It seemed like, and it might just be that we don't speak about open relationships enough for people to know like, hey, maybe this is something that is viable for us. Because I don't think it's viable for every relationship. I think that each relationship has to make their own decision on whether or not they can or can't do it. But I feel like we just simply don't even, like, people don't even know that that's an option for them.
Or even going to therapy. Like,
or going to sex therapy. They don't even know that hey, we could do that.
But that's why, like, the conversation beforehand, before any actions are taken, is, like, the biggest part. Like, are you really going to be okay with this? What's going to happen if I do this and you don't feel okay? Then what are we going to do? Then we could go to therapy and be like, okay, what's our next step? What are other options?
And now that we're about to start winding down here, I would love to get both of y'all's opinion on, for those who are doing content creation, getting frustrated about life and like things aren't like, they're not getting the views that they want, they're not getting the reaction that they want. Y'all have been doing podcasting for a while now. What kind of advice would y'all give to content creators that are feeling like, hey, nobody's seeing all this hard work that I'm putting into this?
I think recently for us, what we realized is just staying true to ourselves, and knowing that if we stay true to ourselves, and what does that mean, and if you work in a group with someone, making sure everyone's on the same page of what that means and being consistent about it, because there is an audience for you, especially when it comes to like a Latinx creator or a person of color creator. It can seem that we don't see ourselves, or the part that we want to deliver, we're not seeing it online. And what does that mean, and what does that mean to curate it on a consistent basis? Don't give up, and keep truly staying true to who you are, because there is someone, a group or something. Like that one clip that Ken posted had over 200 something thousand likes. Who would have thought? But it was her being herself, Ken, in that moment, vulnerable and true to who she wanted to be in that moment. And if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have had those clicks.
Hell yeah. Kenny, what do you think? Advice?
Definitely knowing your end goal and how you are going to make those steps towards that end goal. I know for us, it was always like relatability and having this safe and open space for these type of conversations. And so for us, no matter how big or small or the reach Chica Chat with people had, we were always like, it's at the end of the day, we are just happy to put our voices out there, to put our message out there. So it didn't really matter to us, number wise or statistically wise, because we were like, our goal is not numbers, our goal is not economic gains from this at all. But if that is your goal, well then how are you gonna, take those steps towards that? But also like just if you have something to say. Every experience is so, like, your life is such a unique experience that no matter who you are, you have something to say, you have something to put out there, so just do it. And success is not like, we had this clip go a bit viral or whatever, and that's great, but we don't want to be like, oh, just like be entertaining, be viral, and go ahead and do it. This has been like years of work that we've had, years of rebranding, years of learning how to do different things. It's never just a quick way. You consistently have to do it and just love doing it.
Yeah. And I love seeing the progress. I love seeing the re-strategizing. I love seeing the success that y'all are getting, and I hope it continues. I hope it's not just TikTok views. I hope that translates to podcast listens. I hope that translates to whatever other platform y'all decide to go on, because it's amazing. And it's really cool to just see the transition from, kind of spotlighting other people to really just talking about your everyday lives, and people being able to connect with that and leaving really good comments on there. Real quick, what is next for y'all? What do y'all think? Let everybody know where they can listen to y'all, and what's next for Chica Chats.
We're gonna keep podcasting. We're gonna keep talking shit, good and bad and the ugly. We're gonna keep being spicy in our own way.
You can catch us on any streaming platform. We have Pandora, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We have our TikTok now. We are trying to go into YouTube as well. We're figuring that out. But yeah, we just want to keep expanding Chica Chats, and we're excited to see you, Xavier, in your own little rebrand of itself too, and how you're going. I can't believe we've known each other for this long too, and seeing how individually we've grown is so cool.
Hey, big shout out to that podcast meetup that introduced us all. Hell yeah, to that. That shit is amazing. That was like, holy shit, that was before the pandemic, like right before the pandemic. It was in December.
Yeah, you know what I love too? That we've stayed friends throughout the whole COVID things and like support each other creatively throughout the whole thing.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. It's always like, it makes this grind way better when you know that you have friends that are also creative and putting in work, because it is a lot of time, and it's like just a lot of shit, like trying to get out there and put out content, and it just makes it way better when you have like friends that are also doing the same thing, that you can be like, hey, what's working for you, or oh, I saw that this is awesome, like working for you, and this is awesome. And even if you don't speak about content creation, just like having friends that know the hustle and they know the grind, and just having those people alongside you for the journey is amazing. Like, I got a whole bunch of friends that are like friends, but they don't content create, so they don't know. Like, half the time I'm like, oh, they don't get it. They don't get that, like, I have to do this interview, and then after that I have to find like 1 minute clips for fucking Instagram, or 1 minute clips for Twitter, and all this. And like, it's really cool to have friends that do the same thing.
Yes, and then our ideas can mingle. Maybe we'll start a Twitch, who knows?
Yes. I've been waiting for y'all to get on Twitch, because Twitch is really, really, like, other than the hate and the bots. Like, I can't really, I can't give it its due props tonight because of how many times it happened. They really need to figure out some shit about that. Fucking not Mark Zuckerberg, wasn't it? Jeff Bezos, you got mad money. Fix this shit. Fix the fucking hate bots. But other than that, the community on Twitch is amazing, and I think that's something that y'all would really appreciate, because that's what it seems like it's on TikTok, is community. People speaking and being like, hey, we listened to you last week and we know your problems that are going on right now. And like, that's just an amazing thing in of itself, when people that you don't know, complete strangers, are so interested in just hearing about what's happening in your life.
Definitely.
Yeah, we've been crying at the comments. Like, we never expected these. Some of the comments are really, really touching. And just like exactly what Ken said, that we wanted it to be reaching people in a certain way. That's all we wanted, for people to have conversations at home. The fact that we're getting that feedback back, even if it would have taken 5 years, 10 years, just to have that back to us means everything.
Hey, amazing. Thank y'all so much for coming on here. Please plug in everything where y'all people can find you. I'm going to drop all the links when I upload this to YouTube and everything else, but please do let everybody know where they can find you.
So they can find me at pandamunchies_.
And you can find me at ken.solely on Instagram, and Chica Chats at chica.chat. And in our Instagram bio, we have a link to our little website, and click that, you'll know everything else.
Hey, very, very dope. Awesome to speak with both of y'all. I look forward to, y'all got to stop playing and make me the honorary Chico. Make me an honorary Chico in this. I've had so many good discussions with y'all. I should be an honorary Chica.
You will be.
Hey, sick. I can't wait to be on y'all's show, and have a good night. Thank you so much for coming on here.
No problem,
Thank you for having us.
We'll talk soon. Bye-bye, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.